Inosuke is literally one of my favorite characters from Demon Slayer, so here's how you do Inosuke makeup, and this is perfect for con season because I'm going to a couple this summer. So we're going to start off with some Elmer's glue. Gluing down the eyebrows for a look like this, since we're going to be putting on some fake eyebrows, is very important. Gluing them down, you go back and forth with the glue stick, get the hairs up, and use something that is flat. In my case, I am using the back end of this wooden brush to stick those in place. Now you're probably going to have to go over your eyebrows a couple of times with glue. Normally about 3 to 5 times is typically what you want to do so they are really stuck in place and evenly down. After we have those stuck down very well, then we're going to clean the area with some 70% isopropyl alcohol to remove any remainder of that glue around the eyebrows, along with also some of the oil that we might have moved around on our face, because we want a nice, clean, and even surface for the makeup we're going to put down after we block those out the rest of the way. My eyebrows are pretty dark, so I'm going to be using this off-red color to block them out even further. And putting down this base is so incredibly important if you have dark eyebrows like me. It helps to really make sure that they're not going to show through. If you don't block them out, you probably still will have some of the hairs visible. And since we're drawing on eyebrows later, it's just not going to really work very well otherwise if you don't do this step. Now what I'm doing is I'm really pressing that powder in there. And this is just from an eyeshadow palette. So if you have an off-red color and your eyebrows are dark, this is a great color to use. And now we are going to be using a white color correcting stick, and we're going to be really pressing that into the eyebrow and covering up any of the eyeshadow that we used to block out the eyebrows with. After that has been done on both the eyebrows, the next step is taking some flesh toned powder cosmetic, so in this case some more eyeshadow that is flesh toned and going over it. The correcting stick also gives a really nice sticky base for this layer. And after that is done, which again, I really press that powder into there, and you can see my eyebrows are very well concealed and very well hidden at this point. At this point, if you want to, you can always use some color set powder as well, but instead, because I really pressed that in there, I'm going to go with my base, so I am using some of this foundation and just getting a nice even tone for the base. As I'm going over this, you can see that I'm putting a decent amount onto my forehead and I'm dispersing that over the eyebrows. I'm trying not to go too crazy, so I'm going in layers just to make sure that I don't get the glue wet underneath, because normally concealers, foundations, stuff like that, they're typically oil-based and they will go and re-wet the glue that we put down. So you might also need to use color set powder or something along these lines in between the different layers that you do, just to create an additional barrier. I also suggest using some of it at the end. Now we're going to use some red eyeshadow. We're going to put a very small bit of this on the under portion of both of our eyelids. Use our finger to blend it. And this is going to really draw the eyes a bit more, especially because Inosuke's eyes are a green color, and my eyes are naturally green, which red normally does make them pop and brings them out a lot more. Then we're just going to put a bit at the edge of both of our eyes too, and that's just going to connect everything from the bottom. Now the eyes, these are a lot of fun to do. So a little line at the edge there, and we're going to go slightly above where the side of the eye is. And you want a pretty thin line that we're going to go and connect downwards. So don't fully bring this to where the lashes are. You're going to want some space, and you should make it relatively circular where it loops. You can see on this side a bit better what I'm doing. I'm extending it outward with a small line, connecting that to a point at the edge, and then I'm going to loop this down and leave some space between where the eyelashes are, along with also where the additional skin is on my bottom lid. This is going to make the eyes look a lot bigger. Then we can draw some little lines to make it look like there's some eyelashes that are there. And just to accentuate that further, I'm doing that on both sides as well. And you can see that the upper portion is pretty thin, the bottom portion is even thinner. Now we're going to fill in that area that was there with some white. You don't have to go too crazy, but this is going to make your eyes look bigger, along with also fill in some of that space and not make it look like you just have kind of floating lashes at the end. Now, we're going to use some of this slightly darker eyeshadow to create a fold in the upper portion of our eyelid. I already have a fold that is naturally there, so I'm taking my brush, I'm pressing it in, and I'm moving back and forth. This is going to give some shadow to that area and really just make it look like my eyes are a bit more rounder, a bit more pronounced, and more like, of course, Inosuke's. Then I'm using some white on the upper portion of the eyelid, and this is going to even make them look larger than they were before, along with also pull them a bit more. I did also blend that too. Then we're going to use that same exact off skin tone color, so slightly darker than your skin tone, to create some shadow where the upper portion of the nose is, along with also make the nose look a little bit thinner. So I'm pulling the eyes in, which is going to make this look a lot more masculine in comparison to feminine. Inosuke, though, does have more softer features rather than harsher features, but I am going to be highlighting some of the different areas like my zygomatic bone, so the cheekbones, along with also down where the chin area is. I'm adding some of this white here to go and further pronounce these areas, but I'm not really going too crazy. I do add a secondary layer after. This is just to see what it's going to look like so far, and also to stack the cosmetic as I go along. Now I'm using this almost toned matte lip gloss that is pretty much along the lines of what my lips already look like, adding some shadow under to further pronounce my lips. But I still am trying to make sure that at least this looks still pretty soft. I'm not going for a very rough or a very masculine look. I want my features to look pretty soft still. Now I'm using one of my favorite tools, which is the Brow Buddy. I'm mapping out the area of where I want my eyebrows to go, and this is literally one of my favorite tools for cosplay. So easy to use, so incredibly efficient, and it also saves me the hassle of having to recover my eyebrows or redo the makeup. So I just quickly map those out, figure out kind of the points of where I want it to go, and it just makes things so much easier to go and draw everything out. The little points seriously do help, and you'll see once I start sketching out where these are going to be. Now I'm using some stick eyeshadow, and I'm sketching out where I want these eyebrows to be. Definitely have a reference up. Inosuke's eyebrows aren't too bushy. They are relatively thin, at least with some of the photos that I had as a reference. So I'm having that come to a nice point where it's at the end, and also a little bit thicker where the actual nose area is. I also find that with at least male cosplays or male features, normally the eyebrow seems to be a bit more dipped, also a bit more bushy, but because this is an anime character, we are making these pretty thin. Now I'm outlining these again with now liquid liner, and I'm using waterproof liquid liner. This is going to make it great for when I fill them in later with some blue. I'm also drawing on a couple of different features too, after I have those down. So just a couple lines, an additional line over my eyelid area. A lot of anime characters do have additional lines over their eyes to really draw them in. And then I'm putting just a very small bit of some eyeshadow at my lips, make them look a little longer at the sides, and re-highlighting some of these more masculine type features, so the jawbone, which would be at the sides there, adding just a bit of shadow, which everything is going to be blended later, following at the edge here too, and adding some highlight, because wherever you're going to have shadow, you will always have some light. Now I'm just going to go and blend that, and the next thing that I'm going to do is go back to my eyebrows now that that liquid liner has fully dried, and fill it in with a light blue. For this portion, I end up using some Mehron Paradise palette water-activated cosmetic for that. Then I'm adding some highlights to my nose, using my finger just to very quickly blend that. And I'm adding shadow underneath the eyebrows after that cosmetic had dried. This really brings them out a lot more and kind of makes it look like the look is a bit more angry, a bit more masculine, a bit more serious. I'm also adding some shadow to where these lines are that I created. And then comes the fun part, which is spraying everything, setting that all in place so it's not going to smudge, since the next step that I'm going to do is put on a male muscle top. suit. I'm putting on this cap just to keep my hair from sticking in the inner portion of this. Getting my face through that hole there. And you can see that the cap did end up coming off. Then I'm rolling down the remainder of the suit and adjusting it the rest of the way. Now I'm going to put on this black cap. And then I am good to put on the wig after I've tucked in some of my hair here. I styled this wig exclusively for this look. I do love how it came out, and it really does pull everything together. So after I've adjusted it, then I'm good to put on some eyelashes, which definitely put these on last. You don't want them to get stuck in the wig, and if you're putting on a muscle top, you also don't want them to be peeled off. So here's the final makeup look. I feel so incredibly con ready for this. This look was a lot of fun to go and do, and if you are a fan of Demon Slayer or you're thinking that you want to do Demon Slayer makeup, I hope this has inspired you to get a little bit creative and maybe go as Inosuke for a cosplay this year.
Hold me close till I get up.